This assignment for Senior Studio is going to be due next week. Stephen and I would like you to illustrate how you can begin to get an idea how to schematic design. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use SketchUp to outline your building perimeter and start to create components that are each going to be the size of your program elements, and maybe to boot we can apply some material textures, finishes to those things, but we'll see how far we get. So first thing I'm going to do is open up an image of a building, and we're taking a Fort-Point building. Luana has one such. Let's open up the folders here. In my handouts folder for the class, and you can find stuff here, and if you need anything, any other information, you find it as well. So I'm going to take an image of 262 Summer Street. These are excerpts of images that were created. You have to drag them into Adobe Bridge to look at them. It's somewhat pain, but let's do something like that. So these are the results of a building permit search, City of Boston. Don't panic. This is not very difficult. It's not hard. So here are images. I'm going to take the drawing of the ground floor. I'd like to make this preview a little bit bigger. Let's see. Oh boy. There's an elevation diagram. This looks like a floor plan. And I don't care what floor it is right now. We're for orders of magnitude, and this is page 96. Okay, just minimize this. Open up that the one that we found that's in floor plan image. This is number 96. And I'm gonna, for now, just put it on my desktop. Okay, open up SketchUp. And we're dragging an image into SketchUp. That's all we're doing. I'm performing tests that you should know. If you don't know, you need to bug us to teach you how to do this, or otherwise get over to the Learning Center and before continue, because you're expected to be, if you're going to go out in the workplace, you're expected to be competent with SketchUp. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to take somebody else's program and try to bring it into an area of Luana's building. And what's important is what I'm doing, not necessarily what I'm doing it with, so I'm going to a top view. When you're working with stuff, you want parallel projection. When you're working with something that you're trying to measure or set up or establish or or figure out size for. So I'm going to import that image from my desktop. Where is it? Oh, sorry. You have to change the file type, otherwise it won't show up. It was a PNG. Yeah. There's that page. We're going to place it. SketchUp doesn't know anything about scale, so you're going to have to tell it. You're going to have to measure something and tell it how big that measurement is. And how do you do that? You do it with the tape measure tool. Let's find on this drawing a known dimension. The quality of the preview image is poor here, so I'm gonna pause the video and find the dimension, and then come back and resize this drawing according to that dimension. You want to use the largest possible, so like from one end of the building to the other. Preferably, don't try to resize from a door, because the margin for error is way too large if you're working with a small measurement. So 3 feet isn't going to scale, but the 25 feet between these columns, or 50 feet between two of them, is a much better metric. I'm going to pause now. So I figured out the distance from the inside face of party wall to party wall on Summer Street is 68 feet. That means from here to there is supposed to be 68 feet. It's only about 30 something. How do we change that? Well, this thing is now is an image. We're going to group it, make it a group. No, we can't do that. We have to explode it first. Okay, and we're going to make it a group. Right, to edit a group, you double click the group. Take the tape measure tool. This is how you scale. With a dimension that you know, you measure. We know from that face of party wall to, if you don't know what party wall is, you should look it up. It's a term you should be familiar with. I can barely see it here, but it's about there. And now we type in 68 feet and enter. And it asks, do you want to resize the active group or component? Yes, that's exactly what we wish to do. So now I have to make a drawing. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but it should indicate the perimeter of the building. Because this image is grouped, I can draw on it without having SketchUp stick to everything. So let's start. Use the line tool, and I'm just going to go around the perimeter building. Notice that it lines up along the green and red axes, the X and Y axes, but it doesn't here. Endpoint. So that creates what? Creates a surface. All right. Let's go ahead and offset that surface, the thickness, about the thickness of the walls. These walls are about 2 feet or so. Let's take the tape measure tool again and measure it at, this is load-bearing brick, this typology, the typical building. This performance is terrible. 2'8", almost 3 feet. Double click those edges. Okay, let's create a layer so that we can. Generally, you want to do this. This isn't a lesson in SketchUp, so I'm going to create a layer for the image. Image underlay. I'm going to take that group, put it on image underlay, turn off the visibility for image underlay. Unfortunately, I drew my lines on there, so I'm going to have to fetch my lines. Sorry about that. Double click. And let's just take those lines, cut them from there, Control X. Right? So now they're on the clipboard. I'm turning off the image underlay, and I'm going to paste those lines in place. Edit, paste. I thought I cut them. Let's try again. Maybe my Control X key doesn't work. Let's do it explicit. Let's issue that command explicitly from edit, cut. Right, so it cuts the lines in the resulting face. Turn off. Turn off the visibility of the image. Edit, paste in place those lines. Not sure why it takes the image with it, but let's see what happens if I delete that. Okay, that image is still there. So let's create a layer. Walls, exterior. Four edges. Let's make that a group. Edit, make group. Let's put that on the layer. Walls, exterior. Let's modify this group. Double click. If they're not being selected, that means they're not touching. Is that right? Maybe they're not on the same place. Somehow they're not on the same plane. I should have triple clicked. Sorry about that. Now we have four edges selected. We're going to select the offset tool. We're going to type in a value of 2'8". Okay. We don't need that inside face. Close this group. So now we have the perimeter of a building. That's the enclosure. This is the space inside the building. There are other things that we need to document here. So the image is telling us what? There's stairwell over there, there's stairs over here, there are what's in the middle of all this. There's some columns, right? There's a column grid. Let's go ahead and draw some and outline the columns, because we'll need to know that when we're doing our schematic design. So let's create a layer for columns. I'm not modeling the space. This is how you would begin to model the space. But I'm creating outlines of the constraints that we have to work around. So the exterior walls. Now I'm outlining the columns. These are roughly 1.5 feet square. So I'm going to type in, is that right? Let me zoom in a bit. No, a little more than that. Let's make it an even 2 feet. So 2 feet, comma, 2 feet. Okay. Just going to copy that in this direction. Let's measure, about what we have from column to column. We have 17.2. Is that twice 17.2? 34. Yeah. So 3 times 17. 3 times 7, 21. Yeah. Let's say they're every 17 feet. We're not trying to land the space shuttle on Mars. We're just roughly prototyping in plan what we're looking at for space here. So I'm going to copy this every 17 feet in this direction. Tap the control key. 17 feet. 2, 3, 4x. Was that enough? Was that too many? 3x. Because we don't need, even though there may be there may be a column embedded in the wall. I went past the command, so I'm just going to remove that one. Then I'm going to take this. Then I'm going to measure in vertical direction. $12.8. Is that twice 12.8? I'm going to say yeah. 12.8. Okay. So select these 4. Copy them in that direction. Tap the control key. 12.8. 3 times 3x. Enter. So that's about our column grid. Now I'm going to select all those, make them a group, so we can deal with them separately. Really important to isolate geometry that way. And then I'm going to take that group and put it, yes, on the columns there. So now when I turn off the underlay for the image, I have an outline of the building, the space that we're working in. We still have more to do. We have to identify, there's clearly a stairwell, an exit here. There's there's an exit here, and there must be some horizontal exit. Either it discharges to a public way on this side, but it doesn't on this side because this is an adjacent building. So somewhere in the building, this exit must be the the second way out, and we'll deal with it afterwards. But for now, let's create a layer for the stairs. Stairwells. And I'm just going to block those in as best I can. Again, that's just it's to set aside that space. So I'm creating an outline of about what that's going to enclose, and we do the same on this side. Same on this side. It appears we have a couple elevators, so but I'm going to deal with that separately. So let's block in the stairs. Select those. Group them, and place them on a layer called stairwells. Okay, and just so we can see what we're doing, let us turn off the visibility of the stairwells and columns, and why not exterior walls. And let's create a layer called elevators. Notice it appears to be an elevator in the middle of the stairwell as well. There's danger of double counting that when this serves both. But I'm not going to worry about that terribly right now. So there's a couple of elevators here, and because this is part of the stairwell, we will not include that one because we don't want to double count. Let's make that a group. Create a layer called elevators. Oh, I already did. Oops. Let me just remove that layer I created. And take that group and put it on the layer called elevators. Okay. So, with nothing on, if I select a layer called stairwells, a layer called elevators, a layer called columns, and a layer called walls exterior, I have the system, this space in between, this is the space that we're going to program. Now we're going to take program, so we're going to take program elements, all of which are assigned square footages. We're going to create components of each of them and then arrange them in this space. I'm going to make that the part 2, a second lesson, separate lesson in the video.